to juggle multiple jobs just to make ends meet. According to the Federal Reserve last year, over half of people working multiple jobs had a college degree. Just imagine how bad it is out there for the gender studies majors. Definitely going to be bad for them and difficult to find employment. But this is actually a pretty serious problem, David. And before we were talking to Charles about the potential for consumer spending to slow, where people were pulling back, inflation was a real problem for us. And even though the rate has come down, some of that stickiness still remains in food prices, in service prices, in dining out, which was the category that Charles had mentioned, where there was a little bit of a pullback. And so you think to yourself, with everything so expensive, I've got a college degree. Some of these people probably have outstanding student loans as well, and it's hard to get by. So they keep, racking up jobs to try to do it. At the same time, we talk about maybe not going that route at all, and maybe that being a smarter way to progress into the future.
Okay, first of all, this is not about stagnant wages, because real wages, net of inflation, were up the last 2 years. This is about the college degree they got being worthless and not delivering what they thought it would deliver. They went to school and took $250,000 debt, believing it would guarantee a lifestyle and a standard of living that it can't guarantee, because they're not equipped to provide that kind of value to the economy. This is a systemic problem of the higher education system, other than a few elite schools not delivering what people thought, and them still going forward making the decisions, having to take 2 years of sociology and gender studies classes instead of studying what they want to study, what they want to do with their lives. And then basically, if we're just going to talk honestly, they're going to party for 4 years, and then they get out in the real world, and lo and behold, they don't have the marketable value they thought they were going to.
Okay. But I didn't graduate that long ago, and I wasn't partying or taking gender studies classes. Right. I was, a history major. I took some minors in finance and language. When I see roughly half of Americans need 2 jobs to get by, you're telling me all these people didn't get an education?
Not half of college degree holders need 2 jobs. That's including a significant amount of people that don't have college degrees. The greater percentage of people now getting the second job, the ones with the degrees that we're talking about in this study, that to me is a byproduct of their wages that they expect to make. And when we're talking about inflation, it isn't about going out. I think it's shelter. Okay. It's with the cost of rent. It's 30 years ago, it was about 25% of your paycheck to pay rent. It's now 50%.
Yeah.
So regardless of what eggs cost, too much of your check is already gone so that you have a place to sleep at night.
Yeah. I mean, it's staggering, and we do talk about people who get useless degrees in basket weaving and other things, and that's definitely part of the problem.
It's a good minor, though. I enjoyed that as a minor. My basket weaving minor.
I think people in business degrees are getting a worthless degree too.
Right.
It isn't just those ones we like to make fun of. They're not valuable in the marketplace just because of the degree.
But so here's my question. So at the end of the day, as we're moving into transitioning into a little bit of a different world here, when we talk to Mike Rowe about other opportunities, about trade schools, about being an electrician or a plumber and starting your own business and not having to spend that kind of money or go into debt for the college degree, Brian, it starts to sound really attractive.
It sure does. And as a parent, I mean, I spend a lot of time trying to figure out how can I help get my kids on a route where they're not taking on the debt, they're not getting a worthless degree, and they are studying something that they can use. But, one thing about this whole multiple job holder thing, maybe I'm the foreign object in the punch bowl here, but there is a good side to that as well. When you're young and you're trying to figure out what you want to do, it is valuable to be trying different things, and sometimes that means multiple jobs. Sometimes it means you have a day job, but at night you're trying to build something or do something or learn something. I actually commend people who are willing to get the second job, maybe as a bridge to get out of what they're doing now. There's the hustle to it, Now, you don't need a college degree to do that. You can hustle without a college degree, and in fact, you can maybe hustle more effectively because you're not weighed down by making a debt payment every month if the government forces you to make that payment, which they should. But my point is, part of what makes America great is the willingness to go above and beyond. And so there's a certain respect in which I want to say good on people who are trying to make ends meet and create a better life, work in multiple jobs. I hope they don't have to do it forever, but I'm glad they have the opportunity to do it now.
Just to add to that, the February jobs report from BLS showed that a record high, it was 8.9 million Americans reported working multiple jobs. This is not necessarily speaking to the degree aspect of it, but that's a massive number.
You probably don't need to spend $70,000 a year to learn how to do some of the skills I'm about to mention, but for me, my education was worth it because at 18 years old, I was plopped in the middle of New York City and was told, figure out how to use the subway alone, figure out how to wash your clothes, figure out how to get to class on time, and guess what, if you don't get straight A's, you're yanked back to the small town in California, which was the message my parents told me, that we're only paying for this if you get A's, figure it out or you're done. So it was more of the life lesson of the independence. Again, you probably don't need to spend $70,000 a year to learn those life lessons, but for me it was more about the education. It was about the other skills. How to debate in a classroom. I was the only conservative at NYU, I can tell you that. Now, I didn't do full-on debates, but you start to learn about different perspectives, hear that, and I wasn't getting that anywhere else. I think the biggest change in my lifetime, we'll see what my 18-month-old grows up to be, because I think college looks different now than it did in the mid-2000s. Does she go to college? Does she teach herself to code? Does she become an electrician? How does that shake out? And I'm not sure I'm saving for her college because I think it looks different 20 years from now than it will.
I think you're probably right.
The fact that the biggest lie sold to America's kids is that you need to pay a lot of money to get a 4-year degree. And that it was going to be all worth it. And it was a lie. And it was a lie peddled by crap universities and politicians who took over the student lending business, garbage professors. When you graduate from high school, you don't know what you want to do.
That's okay, yeah.
You know what? Don't go work. Go figure it out. But don't start paying some university in the, 70 grand, shoot, even 40 grand a year. There are only about 10 universities that are worth the money. And Wake Forest ain't one of them.
That narrows it down.
Well, speaking of that, more than 50 universities across the country are being investigated over racial discrimination. It's all